Hi, everyone. I'm here for the Astro Energy Report for Friday, May 31st. It's Maria Luz of Maria Luz Online. And today, in true Gemini fashion, I'm going to have to jump around a bit to capture the info in a way that I think tells this story that has been going on for a little bit of time anyway. So the big news for the next few days is that Mercury, which is the planetary ruler of the sign of Gemini, is actually sneaking into Gemini super early on Monday, like just between midnight and 1 o'clock. And remember that Mercury is associated with this trickster energy. And so sneaking in just is fitting for Mercury. And I don't know if you know the myth about Mercury, which is also Hermes in Greek mythology, but like right after Hermes was born, um, he's a baby and he like sneaks out of his crib and he somehow invents like one of the first instruments, the lyre, out of this tortoise that he like took the limbs off and took the shell off of the animal's body and made this musical instrument. And then he also like stole, I think, 40 cattle or something like that from Apollo, who was another god. Both of them are Zeus's sons. And then he like kind of lied about it and but somehow got out of um, getting in trouble for it. So that's I probably mashed that up horribly, but it just always struck me as such a strange myth about Hermes. But keep that in mind as I go on through this energy report. So also, as I talk, remember there's this recurring theme for all the planets when they enter Gemini because they've had this check-in with the asteroid Sedna, or the dwarf planet in astronomy, Sedna, which has been sitting at 0 degrees Gemini. And then immediately after that touch point, there is this check in with Pluto in Aquarius. So that's in this trine aspect. So there's this discussion that happens right away as all of these planets are stepping into the sign of Gemini. And so that to me just shows that there's some more weight to this Gemini period than there may be otherwise. So I really feel like Mercury, who rules Gemini, coming into that sign is just another emphasis of this theme between that Sedna and Pluto energy that is about power and transformation and how our perception and the stories that we tell can both like disempower or empower. And again, if you can go back to one of my previous episodes where I talk about Sedna in my podcast to hear about that mythology. But Pluto is also very much about power and transformation, and so is Sedna. And then there's also this idea about us, maybe getting stuck in stories versus doing what we need to do to transform. So again, with all of those planets facing that duo, I see that theme continuing. And then the other big news, and here's where I jump ahead a little bit, and then I'll have to jump back in time. But the other big news is Venus meets up with the sun on Tuesday morning in Gemini. And it looked kind of funny to me because Venus kept getting super close to the sun, even within like minutes. So, there's 360 degrees in the wheel, the zodiac wheel, but Venus kept like getting really close to the sun, even within a degree, like a few days prior, but not quite touching the sun until Tuesday morning. So this same day, Mercury and Jupiter meet up, and I looked up the Sabian symbol, and it is described as conscious approach to spiritual truth and underlying meanings. open-mindedness, clarity of thought along traditional lines. And I just thought that fit. And because the sun was making Venus really work for this meeting, and then when I look at Mercury meeting up with Jupiter, well, Mercury represents these more surface level thinking or learning versus Jupiter's more philosophical learning. And so these two meetings on that same day, they also seem to emphasize kind of these weightier themes for this particular Gemini season. And remember that Venus is about relationship and values and not just love and beauty. And the sun is about our conscious purpose. So it could be that we're being asked to truly reflect on the work that we have or haven't done around relationships and values and other Venus things like resources before we kind of shine the light of the sun on everything and stroll on into Jupiter, because there was kind of that like you got to wait for a second Venus energy happening. So now jumping back to Friday, the same theme is present because Mercury meets up with Uranus in Taurus then. And I think this is because Taurus, I think sometime next year, moves into Gemini. Yeah, moves out of Uranus moves out of Taurus and into Gemini. There's only, I think, maybe one more time after this when those two meet up in the sign of Taurus. So I think they're also raising this conversation about how you break out of stories, which is kind of the Mercury thing, which may be defining you. And the breaking out of it is, the Uranus part, like, the come to Jesus moment about you gotta be your true self and stop making shit up. Especially with regard to relationships and material surroundings, which would be that Taurus part. Um, and then there's another important but brief meetup between Mars, the moon, and the asteroid Eris, which again, these are called feminine asteroids in astrology, but they're actually planets or dwarf planets, however you want to look at it in astronomy. Anyway, Eris is the same size as Pluto in astronomy. And then by mythology, there's also this similarity to Pluto because she is an underworld goddess. And what astrologers are starting to see is that Eris represents our will to live our soul purpose and then also to fight for that right. Um, there's this strong energy of kind of, standing up for what you believe in and what you're here to do on Earth. And so, again, I see these synchronicities with the other themes thus far in Gemini season. And I, of course, looked up the Sabian symbol for that degree where they meet. And it says supreme endowment and inexhaustibility of resources in all possible life realms, sometimes obsession by potentiality. So a lot of Eris type energies there to think about, and also just coming out of Taurus season with that resource theme in there. So yeah, I just get this sense that we're being asked to not not be like super depressed. Like we don't have like a lot of Saturn energy, but and Pluto is sending like good encouraging energy for us to just get all of our maybe mundane stuff in order, and when it comes to people and our stuff and have our self-awareness intact, and then we can kind of move on and maybe have a little fun in Gemini season. So it's kind of like if we're going to do the thing, like let's make it count. Like let's have it have some meaning and not just kind of a throwaway Gemini season. And that is all for me for today. I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any feedback or questions, you can always email me info@marialuz.online. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend.